which is manufacturing, say, a product X in China, which is being shipped to, say, Dubai or in the US through extensive network of supply chain. We are heading towards a time where perhaps the designs of such goods would actually be transmitted digitally. And you could have a 3D printer of different capacities and it could just be printed. So you are completely wiping out the entire concept of a supply chain. How this relates to healthcare, I'm going to come to that. But then she asked me, then why haven't we heard about 3D printing? And I got a little excited about it. And I told her that when, in 92, I think 1992, when I was a kid, I asked my father, I want to get a computer. And my father said, what are you going to do with this expensive machine? And I said that I didn't really have an answer. So I said, you know, I'm going to help mommy with the recipes of cooking classes and stuff like that. Of course, I didn't get the computer. So the point I'm trying to drive is 3D printing is today where computers were in 1992. We really don't know what is the potential, but of course, going into the future, you never know. You're coming back to your question, what are the trends which are 3D printed? Of course, in healthcare, 3D printing is already playing a very, very big part. The DHA is looking at it very, very keenly. It is an area of focus for a lot of countries, including Western Europe, including the US. And what they've done is, you know, for example, I can take one example here, and I could substantiate my claim with an example, saying that, you know, prosthetics today have become extremely cheap, extremely mass customizable to the exact size of the particular patient. Digitally, you can transform the sizes according to the person's, and you can have a 3D printed image. So a prosthetic arm or a prosthetic limb, which used to run into tens of thousands of dollars, has only been reduced to, say, a 400 dirham piece. This is something which is phenomenal. And of course, healthcare is going to be extremely benefited from an evolution like this. Moving on to my second point, which I think most of my fellow panelists have also touched on, is the digitalization of health services. We understand that there are a lot of pain points which most customers face today. You know, if I'm having a slight fever, I might have to, you know, go to my car. I'm not really feeling well. There is a huge traffic on the way. I reach the clinic. There is like a huge waiting queue. Finally, I get to meet a doctor for a half an hour consultation. Perhaps I lose a good 6, 7, 8 hours. This is a pain point which most healthcare companies face, not just Aster. And digitalization of health services is one thing where it is taken a forefront. So we're launching something called as Aster Remote Chronic Care Management. And I'm sure a lot of healthcare players around the world have come up with similar programs where they try and address those specific pain points which the customers are facing. So as I said, 3D printing, digitalization of health services, and interestingly, e-commerce, the way it is picked up, has added fuel to fire, because now we're actually touching the lives of patients through an internet platform. We've got something called as an asteronline.com. We are still working out with the regulators to get stuff in order, but in countries like the US and countries like India, this concept is extremely prevalent and extremely popular. Why would I actually step out of my house when I can get the same medicines delivered to me perhaps at 10% less the cost? So all of these trends, I mean, traditionally, from a healthcare perspective, innovations have always been happening in the pharmaceutical sector. You know, there is some drug which comes out, or there is some new cure which comes out to a particular disease. But from a service delivery standpoint, I would say 3D printing, digitalization of health services, perhaps the evolution of internet and e-commerce have played an interesting role. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yeah, thank you, Siddharth. Thank you very much. We are out of time almost. We'll just open questions if the audience have any specific questions to anybody or any general questions.
Before we move to the Q&A, we've talked about various megatrends, but one of the megatrends we didn't touch upon was doing business in the cloud, and we have a Dubai-based entrepreneur who's doing just that. Can I quickly request Deepak Verma to say a few quick words about doing business in the cloud? It would be very useful for the audience to hear from you.
Thank you very much. I know it's pretty late in the afternoon and everybody's kind of not in the right mood, but just to kind of touch upon what we've been talking here. We've talked of innovations, we've talked of trends that are coming in, and I think one thing that would sit on top of all of these innovations that we're talking about is cloud adoption. And we've been in system integration business for now about 15 years in Dubai. So we're a local company. And more customers are coming back to us and talking about what is happening on the cloud space. And the questions are coming bigger and better, which took me to the decision that yes, the customers, which are entrepreneurs, are asking me those relevant questions. And I think that leads to the larger discussion around innovations, because without adopting cloud, you can't really move forward, because that takes the entire direction forward for the country, if you look at, and the business as its own. So for me, the simple examples are adoption of technology like Uber. So what does Uber do? Uber came in and they brought in an application. And that application, the company could have decided to set up a server farm, for example, on-premise. Instead, what the company did, they went to a cloud provider, Amazon, let's say, and they put all of the workload on Amazon, and their focus largely was to develop the product and take it to different markets. So scale, that's essentially what matters when you look at innovation, and that's absolute critical. So we realized that, and we said a lot of the customers, especially in Dubai, which are SME aspiring to grow larger, out of Dubai going to the markets, need to look at cloud. So we've launched a cloud services, we call it Wanna Go Cloud. We've kept it catchy. We're saying this is the place to be if you want to disrupt the market, if you want to go in the larger regions, become a bigger organization, if you may, and become the larger entrepreneur that you aspire to be. So I think that's my take on where disruption in the cloud is really happening.
Thank you.
Hello, my question goes to Steve. Steve, we talk a lot in energy about energy in terms of physical energy. What about human energy in terms of happiness, feelings, emotions, so on? I know this is something very new, but since you are involved in Masdar and research, this is something really important to us. What do you think?
I think it's a great point. So one of the points I was trying to touch upon with the focus away from just the electricity and the hydrocarbon energy being the energy that we're trying to save or you're trying to optimize. When you look at the human side of the factor and you're trying to look at the productivity of people, the health of people, the happiness of people in their workplace, that's the human energy which you're trying to actually put the optimization problem around. And so when you go into a building or you go into the transportation system and you start to look at saying, I'm going to have you more productive in this environment, I'm going to make less challenge for you to get to where you want to be or do the job that you're doing at your desk. I mean, that's the human energy system, which you're actually optimizing, so to speak. Then, when you do that optimization, and you also know that you're trying to help the planet by having a cleaner sources of energy and lower demand, you say, we want to take this system around you, with your own energy being optimized around your emotion, your feeling, and optimize that with the physical energy system, which people typically talk about when they talk about energy. So I believe that truly the answer to the future of cities and transportation is well described by Dubai's focus on happiness. I mean, I don't know if everyone caught on so quickly when this was going to be the happiest city on earth, that's actually fundamental to a lot of business cases in many sectors. You try to look at how the people feel about their environment and then take all of those different more mundane, tangential items of business around us, which actually enable the people to do their job, then you start to optimize those. So in the energy sector, I think the transformation is actually looking directly, not directly at the energy system itself as being your core problem, but looking at the people impacted by the system and doing the joint optimization.
Hi there. So I guess this question can be addressed to anyone. So the question is, how do you think megatrends differ between North America and the Middle East right now, or in the future?
Akshay, you want to
Could you repeat that? I couldn't hear that. I think my take on that really is, let me explain it with an example. Let's just take the financial management system globally today. You've got a lot of innovation which is happening in the financial transaction system of the banking interface itself. So for what I mean is, everything that's happening with blockchain technology, etc. Now that's really a core tech that's coming into place slowly and steadily that would fundamentally change the ecosystem across the world. And I think that's where North America does, has a distinct advantage, that they tend to focus on those core techs that has a very widespread implication. In the region, in the same example, you would see a lot of innovation around, taking those financial instruments to the market. So, for example, Apple Pay or Google Pay, there are a number of local players also in that space. So I think we've got that added advantage of being fast movers on taking consumer products, actually commercializing them and taking them to market, vis-a-vis the Northern American market, focusing more on core technologies that have a large ecosystem impact. That's just my take on it.